everyone, welcome to Talks of Thailand. My name is Jon. Today's story is about a man who perhaps was a little bit naive when it came to his Thailand retirement, and it cost him all his money. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, give the video a like, and let's get in to today's story. This is extremely difficult for me to talk about, because where I'm sitting at the moment, I'm cold, I'm miserable, and I'm nowhere close to ever being able to get back to Thailand, which is where I want to be. Thailand started out, as I suppose it does for so many guys, as a place where you can actually be your real self for a change, as opposed to living within the confines of a society that we had no shape in building, or had no say in actually being able to talk about and change in a way that benefits us. I will admit, and I know some people won't like this, that I hated all the people who moved to my country and seemed like they were changing it from within. Although I've had conversations with people about things like this, and they will say I'm a hypocrite for believing that me moving to Thailand is different, I don't necessarily think it's the same. I wasn't going to change anything. I wasn't going to mould it in my own image. I wasn't going to do anything like that. I was just going to finally start to live a life where I was able to be myself and myself alone. That's all that mattered to me, and that's why this is so hard. I don't even have the heating turned on at the moment. I'm writing this in the middle of winter. It's -2 degrees. And if I turn the heating on, that means I'm not going to be able to enjoy a decent evening meal. At least anything more than beans on toast. So I think you understand what position I'm in at the moment. I didn't go to Thailand with an awful lot of money. I went with what so many people told me was enough money to live a fantastic life. And I hadn't even been to the country before I decided I wanted to retire there. This wasn't very long ago. It was about 2023, and I had become hooked on watching guys making YouTube videos in Thailand. They were the sorts of people who I always thought I was, but who I never thought I would dare to be. I'd wake up in the morning, and I'd have to go on the bus from where I lived into the local town to get to work, and I'd see people around me who I just didn't recognise, who I just felt weren't part of where I was from, and I'd be watching YouTube on my phone with headphones in on full whack, just trying to pretend that I was anywhere else but where I was. Thailand is where I pretended I was, and Thailand is where I thought I would eventually, and then when you start to actually investigate what these guys are saying, where I would eventually be. I'm not going to be naming any of the YouTubers in question, but if you watch YouTube, and you watch Thailand YouTube, you've probably heard of them. The guy who's opened a bar, he looked like a complete legend, I thought. I wasn't there when he did that because I'd since left, but there were also guys who just seemed to be living their best lives. You also saw guys who went and tried to make success out of making YouTube videos, and I knew that I wasn't going to be someone able to do that, because I was not outgoing enough. I wasn't courageous enough to be able to put myself out there. But at 55 years old, with the little house that I had since Mum died not that long ago, I thought if I sold that and put my money to work for me, I'd have about 100 grand saved up, and that should see me for around 10 years or something along those lines until my pension comes. And when the pension comes, I should be laughing. I didn't have a private pension or anything. I didn't earn enough to have the chance to pay into one. I worked in Tesco, just the local Tesco, doing what I could, going back home, and it was just the house. That was the only thing I had in the world, and that was because of Mum. When you start watching these videos and you start working everything out actually on paper, not just in your head, which is what I did for the first weeks after everything started settling down after COVID, it took me a month before I even built up the courage to actually write anything down, thinking that when I did, the dream would be completely lost. But what I thought, with £100,000, if I spent £8,000 a year, then I'm going to get to pension age, and when I get to pension age, I'm going to have enough money to just live a basic existence and have a great life. And that's what I was interested in and attracted to more than anything else. The thing that I was drawn to most, though, was just the warm climate and finding a girl maybe. I'd never had a girl in my life. I mean, I'd been on dates and wasn't completely useless, but I'd always meet up with a girl, or a woman, I suppose. I don't know why guys like to call the girls in Thailand girls and the women at home, which is England for me, women. I don't know, but I guess that's just what feels right. But you'd meet up with someone and they'd look at you as if you were completely useless and pointless and weren't able to provide what they thought you should provide, even though they weren't able to provide anything too. They were just my equivalents. But that's the problem, isn't it, nowadays? That's the problem in today's world. A woman that's your equivalent financially and your equivalent in looks and your equivalent in upbringing, she seems to want to go beyond that and become something more. I tried and I tried, yet where do I look? Because there weren't any options below me. But I don't know, I'm just really miserable. I'm really upset, and I wanted to get this out there just to warn guys like me, who never really had been on an adventure, never really done anything, that Thailand is amazing. It really is. Don't get me wrong. I wish I was there now. I'd give my left leg to be in Thailand now. I mean, I'd give both my legs. If I had enough money, I'd still be there. It got to the stage that it was one of those, okay, I'm going to do it. And then it's putting the house on the market, and then it's the house actually getting an offer, and then it's me accepting the offer and thinking this is actually happening. And then, when the completion date is nearing, I realise I've got to get rid of all my stuff, because it was kind of just, I was moving on autopilot, not knowing what I was doing, not knowing that I was moving closer to leaving. I had a house full of stuff, but it was all worthless. I had to give most of the stuff to the local charity shop. I didn't have a car because I could never afford one. But after the house was sold, around about the end of 2022, I had, all in, around £105,000. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to arrive in Thailand in style. Thailand is this cheap place. I've got more than enough money to last until I get my pension, so I'm going to treat myself to business class. I'm going to arrive in style, and I'm going to do Thailand the right way. I can remember actually booking the ticket. I can remember it was one of those moments where you sort of say to yourself, am I really doing the right thing here? But of course I was doing the right thing. I had, everywhere I went, headphones on, watching YouTube videos of the guys there, and I would watch videos on repeat because I watched them so much. I'd watch anyone, absolutely anyone. And the day when it came to actually head off to the airport, I was flying from Heathrow, I got the train down. Business class on Thai Airways, and the way they treated you on the plane was like royalty. I was treated like royalty for the first time in my life, and it was just unbelievable how amazing the Thai people on that flight were. They treated me with respect, with dignity. They didn't curl their nose up at me like people would do at home. And I thought, here we are. This is where I'm going, and I'm on my way home. That's what I thought to myself. I'm actually on my way home here, and it was great. The food on the plane was great, free-flowing champagne. I'd never tried champagne in my life, not once, and I couldn't have been happier. When I arrived in Thailand, it felt like I'd arrived home. I couldn't believe that I'd just touched down in this amazing place, and I was pretty organised. I had got myself a retirement visa. I knew I could put money in the bank to extend that, and I got the visa down at the embassy in London, which was actually my first time being in London, although that doesn't really make much difference. When I arrived in Thailand, the place I was going to go to was Pattaya. That was where everyone talked about, Pattaya. I've heard it described by so many guys in stories that I listen to. I mean, I love listening to your channel, mate. It's one of the best things for me to get over the fact that this didn't happen to just me. It happens to many people. And it's many people, especially like me, thrown right in at the deep end. I've heard people describe Pattaya as being God's own country, or they describe Pattaya as being heaven on earth. And I suppose I shouldn't be embarrassed to admit that I was visibly shaking when I actually made my way through immigration and got that stamp in the passport, went to go and collect my bag, and the last time I went on holiday, it was years before this. I just went to Spain, and I can remember waiting over 2 hours for my bag to come through on the carousel. 2 hours I was waiting in Spain, and I got off the plane in Thailand, business class, best experience of my life that was up until that point. It really was the best experience in my life up until that point. What came next, though, was even better. I got through immigration very quickly. The people were friendly. I don't know why people had bad things to say about Thai people in immigration. They were very friendly to me. Perhaps because I didn't have any other stamps in my passport. Perhaps because I'd never just been before. And they smiled at me, stamped my passport, and I looked for the direction of which way to go to get to the carousel. And I go down, and I see my bag on the carousel already. I didn't have to wait any time at all. Then you start understanding that there's so much more efficiency in different places, and I was mesmerised. I was taken aback by how fantastic it was. I picked up my bag, and there was another guy I used to watch. He was actually from a pretty area close to me, where I'm from. I suppose you've heard of him. I don't want to say his name, because I don't know if you're allowed to do that. But this guy who I used to watch, and I still watch him today, unfortunately, he doesn't spend all his time in Thailand, but he recommended this taxi company down in Pattaya to get a lady taxi driver to take you down there. But I didn't actually book that one. I wish I did. But I found myself getting a taxi to Pattaya for something like 35 quid, and I was taken aback, because how much would that have cost at home? That's when I first started to realise that what people said about how cheap Thailand was is actually true. I was shocked about the driving style of the taxi driver though. It was erratic, the way he just weaved in and out of the traffic, the way that he seemed to not obey the road rules. And I suppose, while some people might worry about things like that, I was loving it. And I was thinking, here people are just allowed to live. They don't have to worry about all the nanny statery or some government man coming up and spoiling your fun. You know, where I live, sorry for backtracking on this one, but you know where I live, there's a park close by, and they've got signs everywhere. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, and all this stuff. And it wasn't like that in Thailand. I mean, you'd see a sign, but people ignored it and nothing happened, and I just loved it. I really was at home. When I got to Pattaya, I gave myself a week in a really nice hotel. It was just opposite the beach actually, right at the end of Beach Road, and I got out of the taxi and the staff was so friendly. I've never seen people behaving like this. They just took my bag out of the car for me, smiling at me, welcoming me, the ladies behind the check-in counter. It wasn't like they were angry to be at work. It wasn't like they didn't want to be there. It was like that's what they were doing, that's what they were passionate about, and it was like an introduction to how the world should be run and to how the world should be. Although I was pretty tired, I hadn't slept on the flight all the way, even though I had business because I was just too excited. And although I was tired and pretty much falling asleep by the time I got the taxi to Pattaya, I became fully wide awake and alert by the time I was up in the room, and I just threw my bags on the floor. It was like I couldn't wait to go and experience what all these guys who made the videos I love to watch experienced. They had the bars there, of course. I was so excited to experience what they were like for the first time. And although my hotel was at the end of Beach Road, and the place I wanted to go more than anywhere, I don't know why it was, because I went and witnessed a lot of them over the first few weeks of being there, but I wanted to go to Soi Buakhao. I'd heard about this place where you could get really great English food, like a really great English-style little place, and I took a walk up there. I'd arrived in the evening as well, which was the best time to arrive, I would say, and that's when Thailand hits you. That's when the real Thailand hits you. And I suppose perhaps that's where I was doomed to failure from the start, because I thought Pattaya was the real Thailand. I thought that's what the whole country was like. I thought this was in every single town, girls everywhere. And I walked past the massage places and these girls were calling at me, handsome man, massage, massage. And I'm thinking, well, I want a drink, but I could have a massage. But I had my heart set on heading up to Soi Buakhao. I had Google Maps out on my phone and I walked up, and there were bars and girls everywhere, and it felt like paradise. Someone describing it as God's own country, in my mind at the time, it wasn't doing it justice. This was better than God's own country. This was like God's own country that he just saved for himself, and the guys who managed to find it somehow were living in God's own country that he had saved for himself, that he didn't want people to find because it would make them too excited. It would give them too much of a good time. And this is what was going through my mind. I resisted the urge to go in any of the bars and massage parlours all the way up to Soi Buakhao. I was so tempted to go into these places, I just couldn't believe it. But I had my mind set on this place because I wanted something to eat, like fish and chips, have a meal, and then go out and have a couple of drinks. I made it to that place, the first place I went to, and I was pretty much getting dragged off the street by the girls along Soi Buakhao. Girls that had bikinis on, and I couldn't believe it. I had to keep pinching myself every second. I'm pinching myself as I'm walking. Surely this can't be real, but it was. That's the thing, mate. It was real, and I was there, and I had enough money to enjoy this until I got my pension. This is where I was going to be. Actually getting to the point of understanding that this was my new life, this was actually it for me, this was my new life, it was strange, it was heart-pumping, because about a month before, I was in my house, umming and ahhing whether I should actually continue with the sale of the house, because who knows? And I was thinking back to that moment and laughing at myself, thinking I'd made the best decision of my life. So I had something to eat, and then I just went to, I think it was LK Metro. I went into one of the bars there, and I was sold immediately. I knew what people said about the girls that worked in the bars. I knew everything about that. But also, I knew that many guys do meet girls in the bars, and things can be successful. Things can last. And I suppose I wanted a partner more than anything. I wanted someone to share my life with. But I wasn't going to rush into anything. I wasn't thinking that every single bar girl was going to be girlfriend material. I wasn't thinking every single bar girl was going to be somebody that I could actually get to know and love. I'm not that stupid. But what I was thinking was, there's always, that 1 in 100. I was hoping to find that. But not on the first night. The first night was just to go wild. I went into that bar on LK Metro. I'm not going to name it, because I know in Thailand you're not really meant to name places. I went in, sat down, and before I knew it, I'm just pinching myself yet again. Am I seeing this? Is this real? And then this old lady walked across and I'm thinking, you're older than me, what are you doing? But she only asked me if I wanted a drink. I found out that she was the Mama-san. I'd heard guys talking about the Mama-san so many times. I knew exactly what a Mama-san was, but I guess I didn't process it properly at the time. It was after asking me what drink I wanted when she said, "You like Mai?" And I didn't know what she meant by Mai. I understood later what that was, like a question kind of thing. You like Mai? And I said I'll have a beer please. I thought she was asking what I wanted to drink and I'd already told her, but she asked again, and I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Then she looked up at the stage. You like? And what was I meant to say? Yes, I really like. And it was then when she said, do you want to talk to anyone? I don't know how you can describe it because at the time it was so exciting. You can just point at or you can say the number of the girl because on their bikinis they've got a little number. And she asked, which number? And I thought that was a bit harsh because they were people at the end of the day. So I did feel a bit uncomfortable how it worked, but I went along with it. The girl came and sat next to me. And when I say sat next to me, I don't mean she sat next to me and there was a 6-inch gap between us. She came up and basically sat on top of me. I said hi and she held out her hand and you know how it goes when you shake hands and welcome, can I get a drink? And I knew I needed to buy her a drink, I knew that. So she gets a drink and we're talking, and she wasn't forceful though. I'd heard so many horror stories because I'd listened to so many by this point about how the girls really are. They tried to get as many drinks as possible. But I was drinking my drink. If I went in for a drink, she'd go in for a drink at the same time. She wasn't trying to drink hers and get another one quickly or anything like that. So I took that as a good sign that she really was respectable and a decent girl. And she was. She was fantastic. 22 years old she was, a lot younger than me. But that's what Thailand is, isn't it? That's what you go to Thailand for, because girls want older guys, stable guys. I'd heard it said time and time again how the Thai guys are bad men because they don't really treat their girls right, especially ones from the villages. It's going to be a case of they don't look after them properly, they leave them with the kids, and she had kids. I found out she had kids and her ex had left her with her kids, and they were up in Isan with the family, which was a really heart-wrenching thing to hear. I get it that it's a sob story and that's what they all say, but talking with her was effortless, absolutely effortless, and although she didn't speak English that well, it wasn't much of a problem for me. She actually said to me, after we had probably 3 or 4 drinks each, do you want to go? I knew what she meant, but I had to kind of pinch myself again. Does she actually want to go with me to my place? I'm just going to say it was the best night of my life, and I didn't care that I'd probably spent 300 quid that night, plus the hotel, plus everything else I'd spent on that day since I'd arrived. I mean, you were approaching about $1,000. Considering I only had 100 grand, I quickly understood that this is something that you couldn't do regularly. I was pretty switched on, I was pretty level-headed. I wasn't going to blow through all my money in the bars, but I had a wonderful time. It was one of the best times of my life. She left that night. She didn't stay over. I didn't really want to get too carried away because I could see myself falling for her because she was just perfection, but she didn't stay over with me. I wasn't that drunk. I only had, like I said, 4 or 5 small beer changs, and that's when I sort of told myself, you've seen all the videos of guys who meet a girl and they go up and live in her area, and they just spend small amounts of money. They just relax together. They have a good family life. I started thinking that that would be the best thing for me to do, because I didn't have enough money to do what I did that night, every night, and it was clear I didn't. I'd have probably lasted a year if I'd done that, and I had to make my money last about 12. Then it was a question of just trying to find someone, and I didn't want to find, based on the fact how much money I spent on that first night, a girl who worked in a bar. I reckoned with myself, if I went to the bars to try and find a girl, it might take me 6 months to find someone, and those 6 months are going to cost me an absolute fortune. What I did, though, was just give myself a week, pretend I was on holiday for a week, and then settle into the idea of actually finding someone on a dating site or another traditional way. With that, I just continued settling into the different time zone in Thailand, really settling into the way of life, enjoying the bars, and then after that, I found a place to rent. I couldn't believe how cheap the place was that I found to rent. It wasn't a huge place. It wasn't the sort of place you'd see available where I came from. They wouldn't have such a basic room with a bathroom and a bed and that was it. But it was only £100 a month. Although I'd burnt through quite a bit of money in the early stages, I was still pretty happy with the situation. I loved the fact you could just walk onto the street and get a meal for like £1.50. You could get a beer chang from 7-Eleven. You didn't have to go and drink in the bars to have a good time. I stopped going to the bars after the first week. I wasn't going to get addicted to the bars like some guys were. I thought I was one step ahead. Absolutely no way was I going to get addicted to the bars and blow my money and get addicted to the girls. I was good with a couple of beer changs from 7. I got my internet set up, and for about 6 months I was sensible. I felt like a normal kind of guy, just living his best retired life. By this point, I'd already got an extension at immigration, and I have to say that those people were some of the friendliest people I've seen. I don't get it why people complain about immigration, because they were helpful, they were kind. And although I didn't have the exact right paperwork straight away, I had to go back and do it again, but it wasn't like they were derogatory towards me, or mean or anything. They just told me what I needed, and it was easy to do, and I felt like I was settling into life so well. I'm living like this for about 6 months at this point. I'm feeling like a local, feeling like I'm really in with Thailand to the point that I haven't been in Thailand before. I'm feeling like I'm in a position to actually understand more about the country. And I'm going on dates regularly with girls, and I was looking for someone who was looking for what I was looking for. Someone to settle down with, someone to just have a nice life with, someone who wasn't money hungry or greedy or wanted to take advantage of me, because I knew that there were girls like that out there. I knew that there were, and I wasn't looking for that. I'd spoken to quite a few guys. I had a number of friends at this point, some of whom were living a week in Pattaya every now and then, and the rest of the year up in their wives' village. That's exactly what I was looking for. During this time, when I'm going on dates, I'm not spending a lot of money. I guess I was spending about £500 a month and that's it. People say Thailand is becoming more expensive. Many people are saying that. And yeah, I can see if you want to do all the expensive stuff. If you wanted to go to the bars all the time, if you wanted to eat your English stuff, of course, it's going to be more expensive. But I was spending £500 a month. I was going on a couple of dates a month, and I was having the time of my life. I guess from here, though, I'm really upset about how things went, because I could have just done that indefinitely. I could have done that. I would have been able to make my money last until I got my pension. But I didn't want that, did I? I wanted to share my life with someone. And if I can spend £500 a month in Pattaya and have a good time, which I was doing, okay, I'm not in the bars at all, I'm not going to restaurants, but I can walk on the beach, I can have a plate of pad kapow, I can have a pad thai, I can have beer from 7-Eleven, or go to the local places where you can get a big beer for 70 baht, you can do that. It's easy to do on £500 a month. But that was when I met her. I'd been on many dates, and by the way, dates don't mean anything more than just going and seeing them. I wasn't rushing, I wasn't trying to force anything more than that, just normal dates. And I guess it was the 20th date or something along those lines when I met her. I just felt like she was perfect. She wasn't a bar girl either. She was 36 years old, and she worked in a hair salon in Jom Tiem, and we just met up, We matched on this dating site. You probably know which one. But I don't know. I don't like to use the name of things. But we matched on this dating site and we went to a local Thai place for the first date, and I felt like sparks were flying straight away. She was from Buriram and she had kids. She was working in the hair salon to support her kids because her parents didn't have enough money to support them, and she wanted to be able to support her family, and I thought that was admirable. That was the first time I went from one date to another date with the same girl, because we met up a few days afterwards, and all I thought about her was that she was the only thing in my mind. She was the only thing in my mind for a long time until the second date, and then after that, we went on another one. Nothing else is happening here, you have to understand that. I'm not trying to force anything with her. I just wanted things to go as naturally as possible. But after the second date, we went on a third one, because she really wanted to see me again. She was calling me and messaging me, chatting on this app I'd never seen before called Line. We were chatting there all the time, messaging all the time, and I asked her out on that third date. I wanted to take her somewhere a bit more posh, because I hadn't been to a decent expensive place for a long time, because I'm saving money, I'm being sensible, my money is lasting, and if I'm doing this, my money will last exactly as planned, so it is possible. But I guess with a girl involved, that's when it becomes difficult. But for the third date, I wanted to take her to a nicer place and I let her pick. I told her she could go to any restaurant she wanted to go to. And you know what she said? She said, you can come to the hair salon and I'll take you to the place where I want to go. She told me where the hair salon was. This was the first time I went there. She never told me where she worked before. Apart from that, she worked in a hair salon. She told me where it was and I went to meet her. And she just looked beautiful. I mean, she always looked beautiful. She was beautiful. And I had a shirt on, I put on some long pants and some proper shoes. To be honest, I was just loving wearing sandals mainly, though when you walk around, shorts and sandals and a t-shirt, I was loving it. But I had my proper clothes on to take her to this nice restaurant to have a really nice meal with her, maybe have some wine, and she had a couple of friends working there, and the way she was smiling with them and the way they were smiling at her, it was like she'd been speaking about me with them. It was like she was telling them how she'd found someone that she likes. We walked outside the hair salon, so obviously she did work there. Did she do other stuff? Well, I want to say no, don't I? Because that makes it all feel more exciting and real. But well, you can think what you want and I don't care. But anyway, we go outside this place, and she said it's about a 10-minute walk away. Are you good to walk? I was good to walk, although as you know, the heat in Thailand, it's so humid, it's so sticky. I was concerned that I was going to look a bit disheveled by the time we got to the place where we wanted to go, because I didn't want to appear at a really nice restaurant looking out of place. But when we arrived at this place, and you know what? It was a small little Thai open-air restaurant, beers for 70 baht, meals for 70 baht, and she said, this is all I want. I love this place. And do you know how much that meal cost? It cost me 500 baht. 500 baht, and we had 3 large beers that we shared between us, a few plates of food, and a plate of rice each. I told her she could pick anywhere she wanted, and that's where she picked. And that's when I realized that she was the one. She really was the one. She didn't want a lot of money. She didn't want me to spend a lot of money. She just wanted to be with me. I believed with my whole being that she wanted to be with me, and I wanted to be with her. I wanted to be with her more than anything. I wasn't expecting that. I had a wallet full of baht, about 10,000 or so that I was expecting to spend, but it only cost me 500. She was the one. She was the keeper. And after we ate, I asked if she wanted to go and have some drinks with me, and she said she'd love to. And we went to, another Thai place, just off Jomtien. You know, if you're going up through Pratumnak down to Pattaya, we weren't going in that direction. I don't even know. Can't remember what the area was called. But we went to this huge place and the beers there. Okay, they were more expensive. 100 or 110 baht for a large beer. Full of Thai people, full of foreigners as well. But obviously it was the foreigners that were more into Thailand, more experienced, more locally minded. We got quite drunk together, and it cost me less than 1,000 baht. And she said, let's go back to your room. I love you. She told me that she loved me. And well, that's when I realized I'd found the one. I'd found her. She was it. And she didn't want money. She wasn't interested in money. She was interested in me. And she came to my place, and she never left. She never left from there. I was so in love with her. I was madly in love with her. She seemed to be in love with me, and she kept working at the hair salon. By this point, I've already got my second extension, and it's not even long ago. It's still fresh in my memory, and it was a very, very quick courtship phase. She started living with me pretty much straight away, didn't really leave my side apart from when she went to work, and I told her, you don't really need to work, let's just stay together. Based on what she seemed to like, okay, I would probably have had to spend 600 or 700 quid a month instead of 500, but yeah, that money's going to last, pension comes and we're good. It was such an exciting time. It wasn't even 4 months since we wed when I actually asked her to marry me. I couldn't believe I'd found this perfect girl, this perfect Thai girl who wasn't money hungry, she wasn't greedy, she was just everything that I thought I wanted. Her actions proved to be everything that I wanted from a girl. Her behaviour proved to be everything I wanted from a girl. Everything was perfect, and we got engaged. I was always having it in the back of my mind that it could get to a point where we actually need to go like so many other guys did, something I always thought about doing, which was to go and live where she's from, go and live in her area, because her area is going to be more local Thai, more like everyday life. And I didn't mind living in the place I was living in, but I felt I wanted to give her better than that. I never saw where she lived before we were together, but she said that my room was good compared to hers, and that must have been saying some things. Hers didn't even have air conditioning, she said, which was quite a bit of a shock. When it came to getting married, I knew how it worked and the situation that went along with that. It was going to involve going to Buriram. It was going to be having a meet-up with the family. It was going to be doing everything the cultural Thai way. And I need to keep saying, I knew exactly what that meant. I just couldn't wait to go up and tell the family how much I felt proud of the fact that I'd met her, and also proud of the fact that I'd actually met someone who I loved more than life itself. I can even remember going up to see the family for the first time. I told her, we can go up in a taxi. Let's go up, let's arrive in style. Kind of like how I arrived in Thailand in style flying business. But she said no, the bus is fine. And everything she's doing is like she doesn't care about money. She just cares about me and being with me. And I cared about her and being with her. And that's all I wanted was her. And why would she keep telling me not to spend money? Why would she keep telling me not to do all this if she didn't mean it? I don't know. I don't get it. And I still don't get it. But we got up there on the big bus and went on another small bus to her village in Buriram, which was quite a long way away from the city. And that's when I met her family for the first time and saw her kids. And they were just amazing people. At least at the time I thought they were. And we were all good. I'd heard of, I don't even want to say, Sinsod, but I'd heard of it. I knew what it was. And I had conversations with guys. Some guys said they paid it. Some guys said they didn't. Some guys said it's normal. Some guys said it's not. But well, I just wanted to make her happy, and the fact that she'd always helped me to save so much money since we met, until that point, she really helped me to save so much, and they didn't want that much money. They only wanted 100,000 baht, which was fair, and I was happy with that. The whole thing happened really quickly from there. We got married in the village, which was about 3 weeks after we arrived, and we even got, and this is one thing that I don't think many guys understand, because the whole village came. We got so many little envelopes full of money. Some people might only put 20 baht in because they don't have a lot. Some people might put in 100 baht. Some people might put in more. But altogether, I think we got about 30,000 baht back, and the family didn't want it. That was for us to keep. But I mean, I just wanted to be nice, so I let the family have it. As a wedding gift, her father gave her a piece of land that he said he'd been saving, waiting for her to get married because, although she had 2 kids, she was never married before. She was quite, and she described herself as being quite wild when she was younger, and she made a few mistakes. And her family just seemed to be so happy that she'd met someone who loved her and accepted her past, and accepted the fact that she'd been quite wild when she was younger. So I thought they really looked up and respected me, and I looked up and respected them. They gave her this piece of land, and it was amazing. It's difficult to talk about for people who have never been to Isan or seen what it's like. It's nothing like Bangkok. The city itself, Buriram, that's nothing like Bangkok. But it's a nice city. It's got decent things to look at, great restaurants. Although we only went to a nice restaurant the day after our wedding day just to celebrate, and that was on my insistence. Should have been happy having somtam. But I wanted to go somewhere good, and I felt right at home. As it was part of the culture, I wanted to live there, in Buriram, and I asked her, what do you want to do? I can't remember exactly how it went. What do you want to do? And she just said that she wanted to do what I wanted. She said now we've got this land, we could live in Buriram. At this point, I was still spending, since I'd been with her, probably a bit more than 500 quid, maybe 600 quid a month, more than enough for us to last until I got my pension until we needed it to. And I was of the understanding that I could spend maybe 300 or 400 quid a month living in Isan because it was so much cheaper. As I said, I'm one of these guys who has absolutely no problem eating Thai food all the time. I don't want for anything. I just want happiness. I just want to be with my wife. And we didn't do the legal side of things because I already had my retirement visa, so I didn't need a marriage visa, so that was okay. But now I had a wife, now I was with the family, I thought probably 300 to 400 quid a month means we've got enough to invest in getting ourselves a little house. Nothing big, but just a little house to live in and to properly enjoy ourselves, grow old together. And my pension is going to come eventually, which is going to be even more than we've got to spend at the moment, and life is going to be so good. We went back to Pattaya though first, and one thing that I insisted, which she said she wasn't bothered about, but I insisted I wanted to go on a honeymoon. I'd never been married in my life before, and I wanted to go away, just for 3 or 4 days, just to kind of celebrate the fact that we were in love and we were together, and we were happy. And that's what it was about. That's what I wanted to do. We went to Phuket. We even went on the airplane from Bangkok. First time with her on an airplane, and she said she'd never been on an aeroplane before, which I thought was amazing. We stayed in a beautiful resort, spent a bit of money there, but it was well worth it, I thought. And all in, with the wedding and everything, I didn't feel like it was a waste of money. It was the highlight, I would say, of the relationship, because from there, it was when things started to go downhill. After Phuket, we flew back to Bangkok and went up to Pattaya where we packed up our stuff and then went to Buriram. And firstly, we moved into the family's house. They actually let me stay there, which I thought was very kind. If you've seen some old Thai-style houses, they have an upstairs area where people don't usually sleep because it's too hot. But they allowed me to put in air conditioning in that bit upstairs, which cost a lot with the electric to start with because it wasn't insulated. But then we started building our house very quickly. That's when things I thought were going great, but when things started to go not great, because the house is built and that took a big chunk of money, and then it was we need a car. And we didn't buy a new one, but it was still a couple of 100,000 baht. And I guess at this point I had enough money to spend 300 quid a month until I got my pension. But how long do you need to be with someone? And how long does someone need to act in a particular way? How long does someone need to feel perfect? How long does someone need to be exactly like you expect them to be until you actually believe that that's who they are? But I don't know, because once the house was built and we had the car, there were always little things coming up here and there, and she knew how much money I had. She knew how long it had to last. She knew exactly what the situation was. We'd spoken about it. That's why I did what I did, because she understood me, she loved me, and I loved her. We basically got to the point where over the first couple of months, things were okay, and it's an extra 100 quid here, 100 quid there, just helping out the family. And I thought they wouldn't want more than that when I gave them Sinsod, but 100 quid here and 100 quid there. To start with was, I suppose, okay. It was just about manageable. We can stretch if we need to, but then it's a little bit more here and a little bit more there. And before long, I'm spending, still not a lot, maybe 600 or 700 quid a month, but I don't have enough money to do that indefinitely. That was the biggest problem of all. Then we start arguing, because I know what I've got and how long we need to make it last. But she just kept saying, we need help with this, and we need help with that. And the difficult thing is, it's not like she's behaving like my wife anymore. She's perfect in every way. When we go out, we don't do anything other than go to cheap places, drink the same beer chang, same cheap this, same cheap that. And she's happy with that. But it's the money that she wants for other things not related to us. A little bit of help for family members. And it's just a tale as old as time, I suppose, when it comes to things like that. A tale as old as time, and money was going out left, right and centre. One month, I even spent $1,000. This would have been halfway through 2024 maybe, so not long ago at all, but I spent $1,000 in a month. I didn't have $1,000 in a month to spend, because $1,000 had to last 3 months, and it could have done if it was just me and her, based on what we were doing when we were together to start with. Thailand can be really cheap. People say it's expensive now, and yeah, if you want it can be. But we should be spending 300 quid a month, yet $1,000 goes out in a month. And then I actually lost my cool for the first time, I really did, because I told her I can't afford to do this. I think it was some kind of face situation in Thailand, because I was angry in front of the whole family. Because the house we had, it was only a small one, a little bungalow, 2 bedrooms, but it was close to where her family were, and they overheard this argument, and it was like she never looked at me the same again. I felt like what I needed to do was kind of make it up to her, make up for the fact that I'd let her down in front of the family. I'd disappointed her, and I wanted to make it up. So I suppose that's why I started spending more money to try and keep the peace, to try and make her feel better, and to try to make her understand that I was so sorry. I didn't want anything to go wrong, and for a while it was okay. It wasn't going too badly, but I'm spending 800 quid here and 900 quid there a month as opposed to 300. And it was about, when was it now? About 4 months ago. That's when my money ran out. All of it. Years earlier than it should have done. It should have lasted another 8 years, and it would have done if I'd kept to the budget I could have kept to, but it ran out. I had a little bit of emergency money, about 2 grand, and I told her, this is the situation. I've spent way too much money. I've just tried to make you happy as much as I could. I've tried to make you understand things. I want to do what's best for you, and I want to really do what's best for your family. I love you, and I really love your family too. And I respect you and your family, and the way things are done, but this is all I've got. Is there anything that I can do to try to make some money? Maybe I could teach. Maybe I could do that. And she said I should try. But it was like she didn't care that I didn't have any money left. It was like she didn't understand how it had affected me and how it had completely ruined me. All that happened was she said, yes, try and find a job as a teacher. But I couldn't do that. I had absolutely no chance. And one of those 2 grands, I said, if I give this to you, can we try and make a little business together? We only need 300 quid a month. Sorry, talking about quid. I mean, I'm from the UK. I don't get the bat type of stuff. But can we try and do things? We only need 300 quid, and we can have lived off 300 quid. But it was her insistence across months and over a couple of years about money going to the family and money going to the situations like that cost everything. I gave her 1 grand. That's about 40-odd thousand baht. Let's sell noodles or something or do anything, and as ridiculous as that sounds, let's sell noodles together and let's try and make just a little bit of money. Let's do what we can. I don't know, she just took it, and it was over. She told me to leave after I told her that there was no more money. She told me that I embarrassed her in front of her family. She told me that I was really bad. She told me I let her down, and it really hurt me, because from when we met until we started living there, she didn't want anything. She insisted she didn't want anything. She didn't want anything that I couldn't give her, and it was like I had enough money to give her what she wanted, which was nothing but a dignified life together with someone who loved her. And that's what was going on, and it was working, but it was all the little bits extra on top for her family that destroyed absolutely everything. She put her family first, and I was just another guy who thought he was in love with someone, who was in love with someone, and who thought someone was in love with him. But it wasn't like that. It didn't work like that in the slightest. That's basically how everything went wrong for me in Thailand. I could have been single, living in Pattaya now, and I could have made my money stretch. I could have done that. If there are any guys listening to this who hear it all the time that Thailand is not cheap anymore and Thailand is expensive, yes, you can't go out to the bars every day. You can't go and have a steak. You can't go and have fish and chips, which is the stuff I like. But you can go and have a plate of pad kaprao. You can go and have some khao man gai. And you can buy beers from 7-Eleven. I guess you're risking it without insurance. You're taking a few risks here and there, but all in, you can live for a very small amount of money in Thailand if you're prepared to accept living like a Thai. If a Thai person can, so can you. You can get a room for 100 quid a month. You can spend 50 quid on electric. And if you're spending 10 quid a day, you're doing really well. You can have a couple of beers, a couple of meals, and enjoy walking around, living a basic life. My problem and my biggest mistake of all, and so many guys had the same ones, but I wanted someone, and I found someone after going on lots of dates, who understood that what I had, and accepted what I had, and was okay with that. Okay, I'm going to be spending a little bit more money, I thought, but she didn't seem to want money. She never said she wanted money. She never said she wanted anything. And perhaps it was just all a long game, just to get that house, and just to get everything out of me the way she did. And now, I know that this is definitely what it was all about. As I said, I'm writing this in the absolute freezing cold, thinking, what am I going to do now? Because I don't want to be here. I want to be in Thailand. And when I'm going to get my pension, yes, I'm going to get it at some point, and that's all I can hold on to. The fact that I will get my pension at some point, and the fact that I can make that stretch in Thailand. But it's going to be a lot of years until then. A lot of miserable years. A lot of lonely years. And even when I make it to Thailand eventually, I'm still going to be lonely, aren't I? Because I know I can't meet someone because all they're going to want from me is money. Even if I don't have any, they'll still take it and leave me in another bad position. So, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm counting down the days until I can get back to Thailand again. Any guy out there with not much money can make it work. Don't listen to the guys that say you can't. You can make it work. But just don't think you can have someone and make it work at the same time, because that's exactly where I went wrong. Just don't be like me. I should be in Thailand now, but I'm not, and I hate myself for that. But at least I can hold on to the fact that at some point, sometime in the future, I will be there again, living my best life. I just hope I survive long enough for that to be the case.